Last week, I exposed Craft of Survival as part of the Kefir project. This created quite a bit of outrage among the community, and I even got pushback from the devs themselves, thus putting me in a very awkward situation. Okay, so last week I posted that video about Craft of Survival being part of the Kefir project, and it created quite a bit of frustration. People did not like what happened with Last Day on Earth, and the idea that they could be doing the same thing with Frostborn is naturally disturbing. But some of the pushback is just people that think I'm wrong. The game is not listed under Kefir, and so they think that it is not associated with them. Furthermore, the devs of both games deny the connection. Within 3 days of posting that video, the topic was banned on the COS server, and I was reached out to by Kefir devs asking me to change the title of one of my videos. Now, depending on how you're looking at this could look really suspicious. The Kefir devs have never asked me or Star Sniper Cyric to ever change any of the titles of our videos because they were worried about clickbait. But usually videos that have clickbait include the helicopters here. It doesn't say something about how the game studio itself is working. So if COS is not part of the Kefir project, then it would make sense that they would confront me. But it is still a little bit surprising to me. It has made me doubt whether or not I'm right about it. I told the devs that I didn't think it was clickbait. I really do think that it is part of the Kefir project, to which they responded that that studio and Kefir are not working together. This is where I need to make a very important clarification. I am using a functional definition of Kefir. Kefir, which introduced Last Day on Earth 4 years ago, is viewed as an entity, as the original IP holder of Last Day on Earth. And that is technically not true. The actual IP holder of Last Day on Earth would be Andrei. I don't know how to pronounce his name very well, but this guy right here, who is the founder and CEO of Kefir. The theory that I presented in that video last week is that this guy, Andrei, is the one that is using Last Day on Earth kind of like a template and giving it out to lots of different Russian game companies and even funding them to be successful. More importantly, the point of that video I did last week is that he is also sabotaging certain aspects of the game so that other games of other game companies can succeed, which is why we are seeing multiplayer not show up in Last Day on Earth, the arena not show up in Frostborn, etc. That is the whole point of this theory. So if you go back and watch that video last week, if you replace every time I say Kefir with the name Andrei, that is a more literal definition of what I'm going for. We know Kefir. Kefir is the name that people are familiar with, and so I was using more of a functional definition, but obviously using a literal definition of Kefir, which is the name of his original studio, would be unrealistic because Kefir, the game studio, is not working with 101 XP or Mishka Production or any of those other things. And you can see here on October 1st of 2017, right when Last Day on Earth was at its height and it started to go downhill because they, instead of coming up with updates every week like they were up until this point, they all of a sudden halted all of that, and then all of these other games started coming. You see his post, "Hey guys, we're looking for teams on a project like Last Day. We have a plan and a lot of money. If you're in development or maybe has friends who are willing to work on this project, let me know." This is the basis for the theory. He has reached out to Russian developers all over his country and said, "Hey, if you have friends, we've got a plan and a butt ton of money from Last Day on Earth." And this is just happens to line up right when Last Day on Earth updates plummeted and were no longer what we were wanting. So I'm kicking myself right now because I wish that in that video I had just said Andrei and I had made the connection to Kefir, but I had made it very clear that I was actually talking about this guy who is the founder and CEO of Kefir, because now the devs are saying, "Oh, well, we have no connection. Kefir and 101 XP does not have any connection," which of course is true, but that is not the spirit of what I was trying to communicate in that video. What I'm saying is this guy's calling the shots and making it to where if we want something to happen in a game, the game studio itself doesn't really have the last call. This guy can say, "No, I don't want you to have an arena because I want to give that to this other game. Even though you're not connected to them, I call the shots. So you're suppressed and then you are benefited." So when I say that Craft of Survival is Kefir's next big project, what I really mean is that I'm arguing that Craft of Survival is Andrei's next big project. So I've also sent a big list of questions to the devs that make this clarification and are designed to kind of clear this up. And they said they were preparing a response for me, so we'll see what they end up coming up with. The thing that makes this a little bit tricky though is I don't want to get on Kefir's bad side. I play a lot of Kefir games. I like Kefir games. I don't want to make them upset with me. And there's a lot of good reasons why Andrei might be doing this, creating a lot of fake competition so that people feel like you're basically saturating a game type so that people can't steal your IP and make more money on your IP than you made on your IP is a really brilliant move. And it's not necessarily bad. In fact, he's giving so many jobs to so many Russians. He's really benefiting his country, and that's an amazing thing to do for his people. So I don't want to sabotage his plans by, outing the fake competition, if there's good plans, but I wasn't let in on the secret, and so I'm just reporting what I see. And they did a really bad job of trying to hide it with Grimsoul Survival and Jurassic Survival, thus allowing me to catch them. And now they're doing a much better job. They're making it way harder to find, but we're already onto them. Like, we already figured out what they were doing. And now that I'm realizing that they're disassociating Andrei with Kefir and they're saying, oh, we're not working with Kefir, I'm realizing that even DOZ, who they said, oh, we don't work with Kefir, I'm realizing, wait, but that doesn't mean you're not working with Andrei. It doesn't mean that Andrei's not funding you. In fact, I'm now more convinced than ever that DOZ is part of this plan that he's talking about, where he says, we have a plan and a lot of money. They've got a plan and a lot of money. It would make sense that they're trying to get a bunch of Russian companies to make these type of games, all different types of mechanics in the game. Craft of Survival is a non-targeting game, which is very different than a lot of the others. They're adding this to see what us players like. We're basically being experimented on. They call all of them betas. I think they're just really trying to get a really good grasp on what this is, and they're making a lot of money, so they're just going to keep doing it, and then maybe someday we'll see some finished games, but maybe not. Maybe he'll just experiment and plan until the day he dies. I mean, it's only been 4 years, so who knows? But the point is, I don't want to get on Kefir's bad side. If they have a really good plan and things are good, I'm just reporting on what I see, and I'm outing it because there could also be a lot of bad motives. I mean, some of the stuff in these games are really pay to win. They're not good for the players. They get people to spend a lot of money when a game initially comes out, and then at some point in the game's life cycle, it seems like they just stop listening to the players. They've got their own plan, and then they kind of go a different route. And that's left some of us burned. I mean, a lot of us who were playing Last Day in Earth initially are kind of feeling like, oh, let's burn it. We went over to Frostborn. Well, now Frostborn doesn't get the arena we're asking for. Does that mean we're just going to have to keep playing new games? Especially me as a YouTuber, I'm really looking for a timeless Kefir game or a timeless Andrei game. One that I can just stick with, and people are good with me covering that one game, and I don't have to keep switching to the newest top-down survival game. I want to have a game that I'm like, no, this is it, and I want to see it explode. And I don't think it's ever going to explode if he doesn't listen to the players and keeps working on his master plan of having all these different games. It may be making him more money, but if it's at the player's expense, then at what point does that need to be outed and say, hey, just so you know, this is what this guy's doing. He's calling the shots. The reason why you're getting all what you want at first when a first game comes out and then he just stops it, that is because his master plan that doesn't have your best interest in mind. So if that's what he's doing, then I'm sorry, I'm loyal to the players more than I'm ever going to be loyal to Kefir. But if that isn't the plan, if there's some really great plan, I'm not in on it, so I don't know what to keep secret and why to keep it secret. So that's the problem. That's the rub. I don't want to offend Kefir. I want to work with Kefir, but I also don't know their intentions, and I'm not being let in on it, so I'm just reporting on what I see. And I'm definitely not clickbaiting. I really do believe everything that I'm saying in these videos. So that's it, guys. I hope this clarifies some of what I mean by, the Kefir games. I'm actually talking about Andrei's games, this plan with money that he talked about 4 years ago. I think that all of these games are part of that plan, and I think that Craft of Survival is his next big one. I could be wrong on that, but it definitely seems advanced. It definitely seems like that could be their next big push towards the top-down survival games and where they're going with it. On a different note, next week I'm going to be making a huge change to this channel. I will still be covering gaming and still doing everything that I have been doing, but I will be adding 2 more aspects. One is something that many of you know that I'm really passionate about, and I'm going to be adding it to the channel. And then the other one is going to be a combination of those 2 things. And I think it's going to make this channel even more unique and more special. It is definitely going to let me be outside more and do some more extreme things with this channel that I'm really excited about. So I hope you guys watch the video next week, because in that video, I will be revealing all of those changes and some more exciting things as I unfold my plan for the next few years. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.